A typical broke college student with limited funds can't help but be enticed by the cheap fast fashion brands. But fast fashion is not the only option for a cheap source of fashion and has many detrimental impacts. Being a broke college student myself, I have turned to fast fashion brands more times than I would like to admit. Therefore, I am witness to the lack of quality of clothes from these brands versus higher end brands. So I'm going to outline for you what fast fashion is and its downsides, as well as illustrate a brand that is perhaps one of the most prevalent fast fashion brands at this time, Shein. In the end, I'm hoping for you to consider changing some of your shopping habits for a more sustainable option. So I'm going to begin by looking at what fast fashion is. So first of all, what is fast fashion and how does it work? Do you guys know what fast fashion is? Please raise your hand if you do. And think of 3 negative impacts. So Pebble Magazine defines it as the mass production of cheap, poor quality, disposable clothing. So Investopedia explains how the collections of these clothings are often based on what's worn on the runway at Fashion Week, what's worn by celebrities. And it continues to explain how shopping for the clothes at one point was an event, with consumers saving up to shop at one time of the year. But this started to change in the late 1990s when shopping started to turn into entertainment. Thus, optional shopping became more popular. So this is when fast fashion truly began to take effect. Cheap, trendy clothing allowed customers to feel like they were wearing the same outfits as celebrities. But why is this so bad? The article from Pebble Magazine, written by Phoebe Young, tells us how the fashion industry produces 80 billion garments a year. To put that into perspective, that is over 10 garments per person. According to the clothing waste charity Trade, a garment is only worn an average of 10 times before it is simply thrown away. Young tells us how, unfortunately, a majority of these clothes are simply tossed into a landfill or incinerated, rather than being recycled or reused. The magazine illustrates how the disposable cycle continues as clothes become cheaper, the quality decreases, and new trends just come out faster. Young explains how this has led to a big incentive for people to buy more clothes to keep up with the new trends. By buying more clothes, it's deemed easier than taking care of or repairing what they already have, because soon those clothes will already be obsolete with the new trend. Elizabeth Klein, author of Overdressed, says in an interview with New York Times, consumers are often hooked on walking into a store and buying something cheap and trendy. Hard not to agree with. So how is this affecting our environment? HealthyHumanLife.com informs us that the production of clothing takes a huge toll on our environment due to the very high amount of energy that it takes for the production of clothing, as well as the dependence on toxic fabric dyes and chemicals that get into our water. They say that according to Levi Strauss & Co., to make a single pair of jeans, it emits so much carbon, the amount of carbon that a car emits after driving 80 miles. Additionally, fashion has an even more alarming impact on fresh water supplies. The same pair of jeans require 2,000 gallons of water to produce. The toxic wastewater is then released right into rivers and streams, affecting humans and animals in the surrounding area with increased risk of heavy metals in the water. HealthyHuman.com goes on to explain how huge amounts of waste are produced with the life cycle of clothing. They say, quote, every second, enough clothes to fill a garbage truck full is either burned or sent to a landfill. They go on to explain how every year, $460 billion worth of wearable clothing gets thrown away. Continuing to say how every American throws away an average of 80 pounds of clothing per year. So to conclude, fast fashion is ultimately a cycle of overproduction of low-quality clothing to feed consumers' desires for the newest trends, contributing to greenhouse gases, polluting our water system, and contributing to a lot of waste. So now I'm going to outline how the online brand Shein fits into the fast fashion industry and continues its many issues. So don't feel shy or feel badly, but please raise your hand if you have ordered clothes from Shein, myself included. I have a big crate right here, almost entirely filled with Shein swimsuits because I really just can't help myself sometimes. But I'm going to explain to you how Shein contributes to a lot of waste, discuss their employment, and one of their more serious scandals to do with selling inappropriate items connected to cultures. So Jaren Gann explains how, in the blog medium.com, though a store such as H&M is considered to be fast fashion, they introduce new pieces of clothing through a 3-week process to come out with designs. And though this is quick, this process only takes Shein 5 to 7 days. That has to lead to a lot of waste, right? That's the thing. Gann continues to explain how, because their clothes are trendy, the clothing is meant to be discarded quickly and replaced with the new trend, nice and cheap. They're able to make low quality and the price cheap using synthetic fabrics like polyester and nylon. But unfortunately, as Gann explains, these materials do not decompose and won't ever leave the earth. GoOnYou.com tells us how nylon greatly contributes to greenhouse gases, and the production of it produces nitrous oxide, a gas which is 300 times more potent than CO2. So I've heard many whisperings of Shein using child labor, and while I was not able to solidify this fact, I did find plenty that investigates other suspicious things surrounding their employment practices. So the Chinese blog Sixth Tone illustrates an article written by Wu Piu, which starts with a description of a very dingy workshop filled with women churning out clothing and putting them right into Shein bags. According to the Sixth Tone's investigation, quote, Shein uses a range of troubling practices to ensure it can produce clothes quicker and cheaper than the competition. Tactics that leave thousands of Chinese workers vulnerable to exploitation. So according to this article, the way they ensure they are able to produce so much is that many of Shein's manufacturing suppliers are able to cut costs by subcontracting orders to smaller workshops. These are found in rundown handshake buildings or residential blocks that are intensely packed. Local factory owners and labor experts told Sixth Tone that these dingy workshops often flout Chinese labor laws and are considered to be huge fire risks, with many of them being illegal businesses without a formal contract with Shein, which makes it very difficult for Shein to verify how the workers are being treated. So now I'm going to discuss one of Shein's most scandalous controversies. Hannah Lancer wrote an article for the blog 34th Street about a scandal surrounding Shein and a metal necklace that they put up on their website that resembled a swastika. The necklace was unfortunately marketed as metal swastika pendant, which has luckily since been taken down. She writes how Shein later sent out an apology where they stated the necklace was originally supposed to be the symbol of good luck for Buddhists. Lonzo relays how Shein wrote on an Instagram post, quote, the Buddhist symbol has stood for spirituality and good fortune, and has a different design than the Nazi swastika, which stands for hate. We should have been more considerate of the symbol's hurtful connotations to so many people around the world, and we didn't. They didn't. This unfortunately is one example of Shein's misjudgment when it comes to selling items linked to cultures inappropriately. I'm hoping that the issues I have explained, the huge contribution to waste, their employment practices, and their seemingly cavalier approach to producing symbols for jewelry will, in the future, persuade you to stop purchasing from this site. So proceeding, I am going to tell you some alternative ways of shopping, most importantly, more sustainable options. So have you ever gone thrifting? Not only is this, honestly, a fairly trendy thing to be doing at the moment, it's honestly really fun, but you can find a whole lot more than you think. I really encourage you to try going to a local thrift store and seeing what you find. By thrift shopping, you can participate in sustainable fashion. It literally supports the saying, reduce, reuse, recycle. Wikipedia defines sustainable fashion as a movement and process of bringing change to fashion products and the system towards better ecological integrity and social justice. I personally really want to be a part of that. So there are a couple good options. large chains like Goodwill, garage sales and pop-ups, and online thrift stores. I really encourage you to bring clothes you are tired of to Goodwill. Why not pass on your clothes to those in need? As I'm sure many of you know, Goodwill is a nonprofit organization that will take your clothes and sell them at a discounted price. And not only do they make clothing more accessible for a wider range of financially placed people, but they also give many people job opportunities that might be struggling, including those who have served jail time. Goodwill in particular is a wonderful alternative option from Shein for using different methods of employment, reusing clothes instead of creating a ton of waste. So one of my favorite options to turn to is going to pop-ups or yard sales or holding your own. Over the summer, in preparation for moving to college and having much smaller closets, my friends and I held our own yard sales multiple times, and we actually were able to make a very significant amount of cash. This was very effective, and we got rid of a lot of clothes, and what we were left over with, we brought to Goodwill. So I've noticed that there has been many pop-ups around IV, in particular of people selling their own clothes, or even of specific companies doing the same. Especially given how IV is set up, I highly suggest doing that. This is probably one of my favorite alternative shopping methods because you can sell your own clothes and make some of your money back, if not make a little bit of a profit. This option again helps lessen the amount of clothes that you end up with, that end up in the landfills. It is very easy to do, and if you get a couple of friends to join you, it's a lot of fun. So another online thrift store that I more recently found out about is ThredUp. Their aim, listed on their website, is, quote, "Thrifting is about more than just finding amazing deals on your favorite brands. It's about shopping with intention, rejecting throwaway culture, and standing for sustainability. The clothes you wear have the power to create change." So not only is a source like this sustainable, but it provides a chance for us to enjoy buying something good quality for a lower price and being able to find comfort in knowing that we're buying something with no bad intention coming out of it. Nothing bad coming out of our purchase. So this is a great source because it clearly states their goals and why their work is so important. They include very important information on why sustainability is so vital. They specifically write on their website how shopping secondhand can reduce carbon waste and water footprints. Buying one used item will decrease both of those by 82%. On the site as well, you can sell your clothes. Through a very easy process, they will send you a bag for you to fill. You'll fill it and send it back to them, and they'll take care of the rest. So the ability to reduce, reuse, recycle clothing provided by these three options is fantastic. ThredUp's transparency in particular is extremely appreciated. We know exactly what their aim is, what they are doing, and how they are doing it. Okay, so why is this ultimately so important to me? We have discussed what fast fashion is, how it works, and what it affects. Then we talked about a brand that a lot of people use. My aim is to move you into using a different, more sustainable method of shopping because of the detrimental impacts of fast fashion shopping. The impact to our earth, our water, the huge amount of waste that fast fashion brands produce, particularly Shein, is not worth the quick return. We have other more sustainable options. So I'm going to make a final plea to please stop shopping at Shein. I'm hoping that if enough of us stop shopping there, that maybe they won't be able to continue at all. Thank you.